By day he's a cleaner, but secretly he's a vampire hunter. When he opens his toolbox, his hunting weapons are hidden underneath. Bud, all geared up, breaks into the mansion. He sets a wire on the door and starts searching. Just then, an old lady appears, and Bud immediately opens fire. But the dead old lady bizarrely stands up, her wounds healing automatically as she reveals her fangs. Bud immediately goes for the kill shot. The old lady flexibly dodges and backflips, taking down the cop with a few hits. After a fierce battle, Bud finally takes care of the old lady. Then another one appears, but he doesn't notice Bud's trap and is immediately decapitated. Afterwards, Bud pulls out their fangs. Upon returning home, Bud secures 7 locks on his door. Once certain he's not been followed, he rubs sulfur on himself to eliminate any vampire scent. Yet Bud is unaware he's angered the wrong entity. The vampire leader arrives home that night, sees the old woman's body, and sheds a bloody tear. A subordinate then discovers Bud's blood, and after tasting it, the leader's true form is revealed. He vows Bud will pay an eye for an eye. Bud's only weakness is his daughter. His ex-wife informed him they had to move far away to her family's home because they couldn't afford tuition. Desperate to keep his daughter, he contacts a former colleague, returning with her to the Vampire Hunter Alliance, a place that buys vampire fangs for a high price. However, Bud was expelled for breaking rules. To be reinstated, he agrees to supervision by a law enforcement colleague, yet his boss assigns him a rookie, Cluck. Despite looking frail, he's going vampire hunting in a suit, spouting only Alliance rules. Bud intensely dislikes him. They set off, arriving at an abandoned venue. Bud offers his partner a gun, but he simply tosses it away. Bud is aghast, a hunter afraid of a gun. He tells his partner to wait in the car, entering the venue alone where he finds a group of vampires. Bud takes them out one by one. Just as he's about to pull the fangs, a strong vampire attacks, and Bud fights back desperately. His partner, not seeing Bud return, enters the venue to find him, only to be frozen by fear from the vampire. Urged by Bud, the partner kicks the gun over. Bud quickly dispatches the vampire and turns the gun on his partner. I said, "Duck." Bud pulls up his terrified partner. This is the first time the partner has seen a vampire up close outside of a book. He immediately starts vomiting uncontrollably and even wets his pants. He has a complete breakdown. Bud personally comforts his partner and sends him home. Just then, Bud finds his partner's notebook, filled with records of his violations, each one enough to get him fired. Bud is furious. The next day, Bud picks up his partner and yells at him, but the partner insists on doing things by the book. If we went by the book, we'd both be dead by now. His partner was terrified. Looking at his daughter's photo, Bud calmed down, asking for a few days to get the money to keep her. His partner agreed. That night, he noticed his new neighbor conspiring with a man. But Bud paid it no mind, unaware danger was creeping closer. As soon as he got home, he fastened 7 locks on his door, hiding by the entrance, still shaken. He's a vampire hunter. But moments ago, Bud took his partner to a friend's weapon shop, only to find his friend slumped over a table, his teeth pulled out, and arranged to spell Bud's name. Bud realized the vampire was out for revenge, but focused on getting money for his daughter. He ignored the warning. He went to a countryside field where rivals, 2 brothers, showed up wanting a piece of the action. Desperate, Bud agreed, handing his rookie partner a net guard to prevent him from being killed by a vampire. The 4 set off, sneaking into a villa where 2 young vampires sat. Before they could react, the hunters opened fire. But strangely, for such a large house, the room was small, with no end to the hallway. The brothers knocked on the wall, finding it hollow. Just then, Bud heard a noise from inside the wall. What did it say? A vampire dropped from the ceiling, then a second, a third, more and more appeared. After emptying his rifle, he switched to his handgun, but his partner behind him was terrified. A hand reached from behind Bud. A vampire lunged with a big knife but couldn't wield it. Another terrifying vampire emerged from the air duct, hands on the ground, incredibly flexible. His partner screamed for help, but Bud couldn't spare him a thought. He fired, ready to dominate, and Bud emerged from the doggy door. Surprisingly, a smooth 720-degree spin disarmed the large knife. The hunters finally coordinated, guns and swords flying. But that vampire, an advanced threat, held a knife with its toes, pinning the hunter's sword, while his brother used lead bullets for revenge. They fought from the kitchen to the laundry room, but enemies multiplied, and their ammo was running low. Yet, the brothers had endless tricks. A silver blade appeared from a shoe's sole, becoming nunchucks with a flick. Garlic-laced spit became a lethal weapon. They realized the garlic's effect. The brothers escaped the encirclement, both out of bullets. Meanwhile, the big knife still struggled. Everything fell silent. While celebrating their victory, only his partner found an issue. Several vampire clans coexisting, which never happens. Bud sensed trouble. Soon after, he received a death threat from a vampire leader. In the parking lot, Bud saw the strange man from next door, understood everything instantly, and quickly fled with his daughter. As Bud drove off, vampires ambushed him. Speeding, he warned his ex-wife to flee. But his daughter, a racing game enthusiast, saw it at the game, fearlessly guiding Bud to evade all pursuers. Upon returning home, Bud found vampires waiting. The leader took his ex-wife and daughter but spared Bud. Bud had killed the leader's daughter, and now she plans to turn Bud's daughter into a vampire, to give him a fate worse than death. She then knocked him unconscious. When Bud awoke, his partner was covered in blood, having become a rookie vampire. He felt both fear and excitement. Suddenly, he lunged at Bud, who immediately drew his blade. This vampire was searching for his head on the ground. He placed it back on, and his body began to slowly heal. Across from him, the vampire hunter Bud was stunned. Just moments ago, the vampire was Bud's partner. Now one human and one vampire were on a path to hunt vampires together. First on their list was Bud's strange neighbor. As expected, he was sent by the vampire leader to watch him, but the neighbor was also being forced. Bud learned from him that the leader was preparing to rule humanity. The three quickly launched a fully armed counterattack. The neighbor's combat power was insane. He ran, taking out suspects with his martial arts sword. Soon, a horde of minions appeared, suppressing fire with submachine guns. At that critical moment, Bud's colleagues arrived. With a single glance, they cleared the field and naturally split out. The good vampire guarded the rear, while Bud and his colleague went to rescue his wife and daughter, but the leader had already smelled them and immediately sent minions to hunt them down. They entered a tomb passage, encountering waves of minor guards. Unbeknownst to them, the town statues were disguised vampires. They were ambushed separately, and in a moment of carelessness, both were bitten by ghouls. He quickly covered his wound, knowing his life was short, so he used all his strength to push the iron gate shut with 2 shots, leaving the ghouls behind regardless of the consequences. Soon the bullets ran out, but the ghouls kept pouring in. His colleague opened his trench coat and pulled the pin. Before Bud could even grieve, he ran right into a minion. With one shot, the minion disarmed Bud, then sent him flying with a wave. Luckily, his partner and neighbor arrived just in time. They told Bud to go, while the 2 vampires took on the minion 2-on-1. Bud, a new vampire, was clumsy and could only grab from behind in a fight. Getting beaten badly, the neighbor stepped up to help but was also grabbed by the throat. But he forgot, vampires don't suffocate. He just grabbed one in each hand. However, they were torn in half by the 2 ghouls. Meanwhile, just as the leader was preparing to attack Jinxie, Bud finally arrived. He aimed his gun at the leader, but she was completely unafraid, as Bud's gun was harmless to her. A figure flashed by, and Bud was kicked twice, landing on the ground. The leader was incredibly cruel, beating Bud until he flew through the air. He lay on the ground, utterly defenseless. The leader then grabbed his neck and revealed her sharp fangs. Many years ago, the minion from before, who claimed to be the leader, was sent flying with a single slap. Bud tried to protect his wife, but was thrown aside with her. Fortunately, his silver wire was just within reach. Bud sprang to his feet. Then, the leader slowly turned, a bullet clutched between her teeth. How could he possibly win? Bud slowly closed his eyes. The leader lunged at him, but then stopped abruptly, just an inch away. A silver wire had sealed her throat, and the vampire's head hit the floor. She was truly done for. Everything was finally over. After witnessing the vampire's firsthand, his wife finally grasped why Bud had kept it hidden, and the family joyfully reconciled. Meanwhile, in a sewer outside of town, the minion crawled out completely unharmed. She hung a little tune as she casually walked home.